Hi, I'm Lori Zook, and you're watching Jefferson Highlights Community Television. My guest today is Lisa Kelly, founder of Jersey Pets Magazine. Welcome, Lisa. Nice to have you here today. Can you tell me, how did you get the idea for Jersey Pets Magazine, and what was your inspiration?
I really got the idea from the love of my own dogs, and it started with my first dog, Goober, and I didn't get him until I was well into my 20s. I never had a pet growing up, and when I got him, he really changed the way I felt about animals and everything in my life. And shortly after we got him, I had gotten married, we got the dog, I went through a divorce, and Goober's behavior started to change. And it was because of his behavior changes that I started reading every kind of book I could get my hands on to find out, did I make the dog nuts? You know, he was changing from a friendly dog to a dominant aggressive dog, wanting to protect me. And I started to realize that I had done a horrible, horrible job of not training him properly and reinforcing bad behaviors and things that I was doing unknowingly. I was reinforcing these things.
What kind of a dog is Goober?
He's an Old English sheepdog.
A big dog?
Yes. And so what I did was I started to research things and learned that if he had better socialization as a puppy, he might not have been in the predicament that we were in now. So I actually tried to open up a doggy daycare. Where I am located in New Jersey is a very high commuter end. We're kind of in central Jersey where people hop on the Parkway to go to New York, or they're hopping on Route 70 to go to Philadelphia. So it was a perfect location for people to just drop their dogs off just like they would their children for daycare. They could drop their dogs off at doggy daycare and go off to work for the day and not have to worry about whether or not they were being walked or played with or taken care of. However, to run such a business, you need to be in a high retail area. And the rent in a retail area is very expensive, and I soon found out you couldn't get capital for that kind of a business if you didn't have that kind of capital. So it was my father who came to my house one day and he was like, what do you have all these pet magazines for? You know, you have all this knowledge, this business plan you did for doggy daycare. Why don't you turn it into a pet magazine? All the information in these magazines are, you know, over and over again. They're the same, you know, it's flea and tick season. Make sure you put your flea and tick prevention on. It's you know, heartworm this, you know, it's always about the same. And not that medical information is not beneficial, but as a basic pet owner, you know that stuff. And it was more the heartwarming stories of what was happening in your own backyard. A lot of the local newspapers were starting to expand their pet coverage. Some even included a segment in their weekly papers. So that's where I kind of got the idea of taking it and making it a regional pet publication so that you can learn about what was going on in your own backyard and not what was going on in California when you weren't going to get to that event.
What steps did you take to get the magazine started? How did you go about doing it?
First, I secured the business name, and I had actually already incorporated when I was thinking of having doggy daycare. So I became an S Corp, which is actually Cooper's Playhouse Incorporated, named after my dog. And then I did a doing business as name for Jersey Pets Magazine. And once you kind of get the legality issues down of what you need as far as registering the business, where you're going to establish the corporation, and there's many wonderful services out there, whether it be going to a SCORE, which is the Counselors to America. They're business people that are retired, and they're there just to help you. It's set up through the SBA. There's small development business centers, which also work with the SBA. And down in my area of New Jersey, we're lucky to have one at the Brookdale Community College in Lincroft. But they're also located in other colleges within New Jersey. And you can go get free advice on how to incorporate, how to file your paperwork, do things like that. From there, you write your business plan and you start to establish how you're going to make this thing work and how it's going to be profitable and who's going to be some key players in it, and talk about your market and things like that. And then basically you start sending out feelers to the pet community. I started with actually shelters and rescues and asking if they would be considered and getting involved, whether it be writing stories about their rescue or doing stuff with to help distributing the magazine, different things like that.
What kind of struggles have you faced? And I think there's always quite a few when you're a business just starting up.
Yeah, every business faces obstacles and hurdles, and magazines are probably the riskiest thing to start. One of the problems, and probably our main problem, has been trying to find a market within advertising. Advertising revenue is what makes a magazine work. And you can't have advertising revenue if you don't have readership. but you don't make money off the readership. The idea of having a good circulation is how you get your advertising revenue. And being a regional publication is even harder because now national advertisers don't want to advertise in your publication because you're just one location. They want to reach the whole country. Where local businesses don't want to advertise in your publication because they feel you're too big. They don't want to advertise out of their own zip code because they feel people aren't going to drive 15, 20 miles to go to a dog groomer.
So it's like a catch-22.
Yeah.
What advice would you have for others thinking of starting their own business, especially if it is a magazine?
Don't know. You really have to be, even if you think you're doing this on your own, you're not. Your family, your friends, anybody that's in your inner circle is going to be affected by it. And you really have to make sure you have a great support system around you, because there are times where you feel like, you know, this is it. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to work. And then something happens in the 11th hour, and you can keep going. And it's a lot of time. Any business is going to take up a lot of time. There's no such thing as free business or weekends or anything like that. It's always the business first, everything else after.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk about the format for the magazine. Do you talk about all types of pets, or is it just specific pets?
We tackle every pet because we kind of felt like what we were going to celebrate was the animal-human bond. Because whether you have a dog, a cat, a snake, everybody shares that same love for their pet. It kind of transcends species. And whether or not I can picture going home to cuddle up to a snake doesn't matter. That person that owns the snake feels the same way about their snake as I do about my dogs.
Can you elaborate a bit on the message of the magazine, what you're trying to get out?
We're trying to not only just talk about good pet ownership, but we really like to kind of put an emphasis on animal welfare, whether that be from the standpoint that we have a shelter or rescue spotlighted in every issue, where we give them a chance to not only talk about their organization, but kind of showcase some of the animals that might have been there for long-term residents and need homes. We've done some stories on animal cruelty, the difference between abuse and cruelty and what to look for. We've had stories, actually, Libby Williams from New Jersey Capsa did a wonderful 3-part series on puppy mills, the pet shop abuse, and that whole connection, the Amish country, and just the response we got from that series alone was just overwhelming, with people that just they weren't aware that it even happened. So, and I used to consider myself a fairly educated pet owner once I started to read books and learn things, and there's just a wealth of, the New Jersey pet community is booming and people just don't even know it's there. There's events that happen from the New Jersey Veterinary Medical Association, holds a Hall of Fame Awards every year. It's going into its 10th year this year. It's held every March. They do therapy animals, they do hero awards, and they actually offer an award as well to a human that's gone above and beyond in trying to keep the animals' welfare taken care of. There's the Super Pet Expo that's held in Edison, which is a great event for people to go to. They can learn about pets if they're looking to adopt. Pet Finder usually has a row of shelters or rescues that are there exhibiting. And then they could just have fun as well with their animals for the day and take them out.
I've read actually that people send their pets than they do on their kids.
Yeah, I just read a survey as well that if somebody was going to be on a deserted island, who would they rather be with, a spouse or a pet? And more than half chose their pet.
I won't comment on that one. Do you I know you said you made a concentrated effort to focus on rescues and shelters. Why not breeders? Why are you concentrating on rescues and shelters?
I actually, unfortunately, bought a pet shop puppy not knowing any better. And not that all breeders are out there looking to purposely deceive or breed sick animals. It's unfortunately a sad fact that it does exist. And the only way to really stop the cycle from continuing is to hit them in the pocketbook. And the only way to hit them in the pocketbook is to stop breeding, stop buying those animals. And there's so many animals that are they're in shelters, they're in rescues, and they're wonderful animals. Some of them are purebred, and actually a mixed breed dog will usually live longer than a purebred because it doesn't have some of the genetic defects that a purebred dog could have. My other dog is actually a rescue who's a lab mix, and she's a wonderful dog, and there's just many wonderful animals waiting to go home, forever homes there.
That's a terrific thing that you do. Tell me how you find your cover models. On the little break in between segments, we're going to show some of your covers, but how do you go about finding people to be on the cover?
We really try to make a concentrated effort to find semi-New Jersey celebrities or have a New Jersey connection that really exemplify the animal-human bond. They've taken it a step further and taken it into their professional career. We've had Patrick McDonald, who does the comic strip Mutts, and he not only does Mutts, but every year he does a concentrated effort to do shelter stories. He does those twice a year for National Shelter Appreciation Week. He actually is designing a strip to go along with Spay Day later in this month, which is another very important thing for people to know. They need to go and spay and neuter their animals to prevent unwanted pet population. He actually redesigned our animal-friendly license plates. I mean, that's another thing, you know, people don't realize we were the first state to have those license plates. We kind of were trendsetters, and we exhausted the number combination, so they had to be redesigned.
Wow.
So we've had Sandy Levine, who goes out of her way to do the NJN Homeless Tales, where she's helped promote the adoption of many animals.
How do you, what features do you offer in each issue? I know I've read the magazine, of course, I get a subscription to it, but maybe you could talk about some of the features so that people watching would know what they can look forward to in each issue.
Each issue has segments that are repeated every issue. There's Pets with Jobs, which focuses on animals that are out there in the workforce in a humane way, whether it be therapy animals, search and rescue dogs. We've had a couple of dogs that were actually inspiration for starting cookie companies. We have the All Things Animal column, which is from the NJVMA, and it's a kind of a question and answer column for vets and pet owners. We have the Shelter Spotlight, again, which focuses on a shelter or rescue every issue. We have the travel section, which is actually done by dogfriendly.com, and they do a different travel destination that's pet-friendly every issue. We have a memorial section where people can actually write and talk about their beloved animal that has moved on.
Okay.
And then we mixed it up with features and feature stories, whether it be the cover feature. We've had features about a gentleman who has a feral cat community and what it's meant to him. We've had features on a pet bird and the lengths that this woman went to keep it alive. Fortunately, she wasn't successful, but she talked about her struggles, the importance of pet insurance. We've had features that showcase an alley cat who was just a neighborhood stray, and he went on to become a show winner.
Wow, sounds like you have some great stories in there. Well, we'll be back in just a moment on Jefferson Highlights Community Television. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Jefferson Highlights Community Television. I'm Lori Zook, and I'm speaking with Lisa Kelly, founder of Jersey Pets Magazine. Why don't you tell me how you find the writers for your magazine, and tell me about some of your featured stories.
We really find the writers actually just within the pet community. A lot of them are readers. We do a lot of events where we give magazines out just to kind of create awareness of who we are and what we do. And everybody wants to tell their story, which is, again, another inspiration for the magazine as well. You know, being a pet owner, when you go to the vet, you'll wind up talking in the waiting room about like the most private details of your animal, where if you were the same medical doctor for yourself, you're not as likely to do it. So the magazine is a way for everybody to talk about their pet, their cause, whatever's important to them. And a lot of the features we get through some of those people. Actually, the Mid-Atlantic Great Dane Rescue is a great help in getting us Dre DiMatteo to be on our November-December issue. And the work that she's done with them, and there's an example of someone who's not a New Jersey resident, but she had the New Jersey connection by becoming a celebrity sponsor for the New Jersey chapter of the Great Dane Rescue. And she went and did your Highballs for Hooch event that was held down in Palmyra. You know, just we went there and covered that event, and it just, you know, you get the person who has some presence, who has some credibility, who has a following to get behind a cause, and it just elevates everything. And having her on the cover was just instant recognition. Everybody was like, you have an Emmy award-winning actress on your cover. How'd you manage that? So it was really exciting, and it's the support of the pet community that really helps us and keeps us going.
Right. You had some other people on your covers also. You had Sandy Levine from NJN's Homeless Tales, and maybe Dr. Voynick, Brian Voynick from the Pet Stop.
Yeah. We've had Carol Erickson, who's actually on the CBS affiliate out in Philadelphia, who lives in New Jersey, and again, here's somebody who, she's the weather girl on the news, but she actually also has a very concerned animal advocate approach to what she does. She hosts the Ask the Vet segment every Saturday. She has done a lot of charity work within Philadelphia and parts of New Jersey where she's from, and that was what made her an eligible candidate. We had a DJ from a local radio station on the cover who, in the newscast, does an animal story every day. So we had her on the cover. We had Kim Levin from Bark and Smile Pet Portraits. She is a local Red Bank pet photographer who's taken actually a lot of our cover photography as well. So it was a great pleasure to be able to pay her back and put her on the cover and talk about the work that she does and how she went from a New York ad agency to taking just pictures of New York dogs while she was living in New York, and said, one day I'm going to turn this into something. And she turned it into her own business.
What stories would you like to cover in the future, and what cover models would you wish to have?
We would love to have Bruce Springsteen on the cover, whose wife Patty has done a lot of work with. They actually did some stuff with, it's a horse therapy group, and the name is escaping me right now, but in Colt's Neck. They do some horse therapy work with them. Spur, Special People United to Ride.
Okay.
And John Bon Jovi's wife has been active with the Monmouth County SPCA. We'd like to see her on the cover. We have, we're in talks with Kelly Bishop, who is on the Gilmore Girls, to be on a future cover. Quite possibly Tahani Jones from the Philadelphia Eagles, who has a boxer, and maybe even Super Bowl winning Eagles. We'd like to take it to New Jersey people, New Jersey connection, and celebrate the people that go above and beyond to celebrate their animals.
Tell me, let's go back to, we were talking about advertising earlier. Tell me about the difficulties that you're encountering. I know we were talking about how it's a catch-22. What kind of advertisers would you like to have in your magazine? Does it have to be pet-related?
No. I mean, ideally, you'd like to get some great pet companies to back and support you. But there's a lot of people out there that are pet-friendly, even though their business isn't necessarily for pets. There's car dealerships that go above and beyond, be able to support the local shelter and rescue. We'd love to have them show that by appearing in Jersey Pets magazine. We'd love to have local florists, anybody that maybe they bring their own pet to work every day, and they could support that, they could celebrate that. And then I think that if you're in the pet-friendly community and you see, hey, this florist is pet-friendly and this one isn't, that might weigh my judgment and make me go to where I know they're going to kind of be sensitive to what I believe in.
Right. And I understand that you offer some type of a special deal or a subscription deal with nonprofits that promotes your magazine. Can you tell me how that works?
Yeah, what we call it is the affiliation subscription program, and it's very similar to a lot of companies have affiliate programs where you put your link on their website, and if people click through to it, you get a percentage back on the sales. So we thought about how can we cater to shelters and rescues to do that. So what we did was we designed a system where they would get a 3-digit code so we could track any subscriptions that came in from the shelter or rescue. We'll give them a supply of back magazines with a sticker on it that says, this is a free sample issue. If you subscribe, mention this shelter or rescue, and they will receive either $2 back on a one-year subscription, which is $9.99, or they'll receive a $4 donation back on a 2-year subscription, which is $14.99. And then this way, it's a great fundraiser for the shelter or rescue, and it helps us spread the word.
Gotcha. And when it goes back to the subscription plan, is it going into vets' offices? Aren't you also somehow connected with the Veterinary Medical Association?
As of last August, we actually started a relationship with the New Jersey Veterinary Medical Association, and they've been so wonderful that they actually took 1,000 magazines each issue, and they distribute them through the, they represent 1,600 licensed veterinarians in the state, which is roughly 500 plus offices. They take 1,000 magazines, they distribute them throughout those offices for waiting room material. Larger medical facilities get more magazines than smaller. They also allowed me to design a poster promoting the magazine and subscriptions, and they took 500 of those to distribute throughout the offices as well.
What kind of readership do you have now? How many people subscribe to the magazine, and how many people do you think actually read the magazine? Because I'm sure that magazine is so well written, it passes through a lot of hands.
Oh, thank you. In the 2 years that we've been doing the magazine with a very limited marketing budget, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. So while that number is really small, we do estimate that at least, they say at least 2 people per magazine are readership-wise. Funny enough, I actually send every issue to my grandmother, just thinking she would be proud to have it. She immediately told me how she mails it off to her girlfriend, and she gives it to her daughter, and then the daughter gives it to a friend. And I said, well, you're costing me subscriptions, Gram. You know, that's great, you want to brag, but so it would be nice if everybody that enjoyed the magazine, I'm not looking for the subscription money, but I just need the support and the numbers to prove to advertisers that they're out there. So that's where we really come into having that problem. The other thing we do is we print many more than just 1,000 issues. We actually do a print run usually between 40 and 50,000. We distribute those at shows, expos, whether it be a shelter, dog walk, any kind of event like that. And we also take them and we insert them into some of the community newspapers in New Jersey. And we're actually looking forward to starting a relationship with the Star Ledger this year, where it would be inserted into the subscriber editions of the Sunday paper.
What topics do you have coming up in some of your issues planned to come out?
We actually go behind the scenes at Westminster and meet a lot of the Jersey dogs. And that's a great show, not just for somebody who might be into breed specific, but it's a great way, it's a bench show. It's a nice way for people that are thinking of getting a pet. The people that exhibit there have to stay with their animals. So now you can ask questions. And maybe when you thought that Rhodesian Ridgeback was really cool looking and you wanted it to be in your living room, after you talk to these people, you might realize that that's not the breed for me. We have a follow-up coming up on the Puppy Mill series and follow up on some of the cases that were pending and what's been happening with that. We're going to be going to Voorhees, New Jersey for a physical therapy. It's called Pet PT, and it's a physical therapy rehab just for pets. We're going to be looking into pet-friendly workplaces that let people bring their pets to work, because June is Take Your Dog to Work Day, just like Take Your Daughter to Work Day, only a lot more fun for us. And we're going to talk about places that do it all year long and the benefits. We have the travel section is going to come up with some great Jersey Shore destinations, so that if people can't afford to get away on a big long weekend, a big long vacation, maybe they could just take a long weekend to the Jersey Shore and where the best places to go with their pets are.
Wow, can you bring your dog onto the Jersey Shore?
You can in certain beaches. I believe there's one down in Cape May, and a little locally where I live is called Island Beach State Park. The dog has to stay in a 6-foot lead, and there's no lifeguards. You can't go to the part of the beach where there's lifeguards. I've done it. My dogs don't really particularly enjoy the water. I think it's actually torture for them, but we go out and spend our one summer day every year out on the beach. And then we're going to talk about the dog parks. Ocean County Park just had a new dog park open up. So there's a lot of dog parks in New Jersey. Some are actually membership-driven parks where you have to pay to belong. So they become, in essence, maybe a better park, because now people are having a little bit more ownership and pride into the park, as opposed to some public parks where people might not necessarily feel the need to clean up after their dogs.
Right, I'm aware that in Morris County there's a new park that opened up recently, so I gather a lot of people are trying to get more parks opened up, because there really aren't that many.
No, I mean, and as much as there's a lot of large backyards, there's just as much condo developments and apartment buildings that don't have a place for their animals to run. I mean, I'm lucky I can just open the back door up and they can run around the backyard, which is pretty nice and it's fenced in, but not everybody's in that same situation.
Tell me, how can people contact you if they want to get a hold of you to find out either information about the magazine, subscribing, advertising, or maybe just some advice on starting a new business? Do you have a website or a phone number they can reach you at?
They can go through our website, which is jerseypetsmagazine.com, or they can call us at 732-920-6920.
Great. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'm Lori Zook for Jefferson Highlights Community Television. Thanks for joining us.